and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyper Conscious Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. She is the Breathwork Queen, founder of Hungry for Happiness and Pause Breathwork. She's a speaker, an entrepreneur, and a visionary. We are sitting down with the one and only Samantha Skelly. What is happening?
Oh my God. That was the best freaking intro I've ever had.
That's what we go for around here.
That's so rad.
How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. I'm in nature right now, and I did my morning workout in nature, which always makes me feel alive and connected and reminds me how amazing life is. So I'm feeling pretty on fire and
we
super excited to have this conversation.
Doing this from the retreat in the woods, it means the world. And so when I came across your profile, you know, we do a lot of prospecting for guests, right? And you can tell very quickly whether or not somebody is authentic or they're bullshitting. At the end of the day, like, a lot of people out there are not who they say they are. When I came across your profile, I was like, oh my God, you're so authentic. You're so vulnerable. Your posts with your verbiage is so eloquent and nice, and there's a story to everything. So when I saw that, not only did I want to chat with you, and I knew Alan would, but I know that our listeners will resonate with you because we talk about a lot about the inner stuff. And it seems like you are kind of, you know, that's your area. So can you go into, before we get into the deep stuff, who are you today? What is it that you do in the world? And kind of give us the story of how you got to where you are today.
So funny when you ask that question. So I do this meditation every single morning when I ask myself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Because I think we can get so identified with our personality. We can get so identified with, like, I wear this and I drive this and I live here. And the stuff that I'm most interested in is, who am I underneath the avatar? Who am I underneath the personality? Who am I underneath, like, what I believe? Like, what is this, like, soul that came to this planet? Like, who is that? You know? And there's like this ruthless curiosity for that. So it's funny that you asked that question, but like, what I am, like the role that I play in the world today is I have such low tolerance for human suffering. As a whole in any domain. And my mission is to create experiences that help people reduce suffering by using their body to heal themselves. And so I came across breathwork 10 years ago accidentally when I was in Bali. Actually, I was a fitness competitor, a dancer, and actress, and I developed a really bad eating disorder in my early 20s, 18 to 23-ish. And did everything that I was supposed to do to try and get better, and nothing was working. And so that's when I found breathwork, and breathwork helped me reconnect to my body at a time in my life where the only two things I could really feel was just like complete numbness or anxiety. People would say, Sam, follow your intuition, or what do you feel? And I'm like, literally nothing. Like, this thing is not on, you know? And so breathwork helped me activate my body and that felt sense of feeling alive, feeling excited, feeling connected to the earth, to myself. And so my mission now is to help other people activate that within themselves.
When you do your morning meditation and you ask yourself, I was listening to the Untethered Soul, and he was saying, like, who are you? And it's like, whoa, you gotta take it easy, man. I'm gonna have an anxiety attack here. When you do that in the morning, who are you? First question, right? I'll start with the easy one, right? Because that's the easy one. And how can somebody figure that out? Because that's like a different level of awareness that probably comes with experience, right? So who are you when you do that, and what is some tangible takeaways for somebody listening to this?
I've come to the realization that anytime I connect who I am with some external thing, I'm missing the point. And the answer, honestly, that I come to when I ask myself that question and like layer it down, like, who am I? Who am I really? The place that I get to is like nothing. Like, I am nothing and everything all at the same time. And when we can understand that we are just these energetic beings in physical bodies, like, this is like a physical body that I'm borrowing in this life. But the energy and the soul that resides in this thing is so much greater than I can. It's an energy. It's like it's a beingness. And I know that it's so not tangible that it's hard to make it tangible. And I think that for a lot of people is very untethering because we are so addicted to identities. We're so addicted to roles. We're so addicted to, I am this because I am this label or this identity, or I belong to this religion or this political party. And we love to put ourselves in boxes to define ourselves because that's what makes our ego feel safe. So when we remove all of that, it can feel very untethering, untethered soul, because there is a sense of like, well, if I'm not that, then what am I? And I think the allowance of letting the uncertainty be possibility and creativity, and not letting the uncertainty mean that you are worthless or you don't know who you are. Like, I love not knowing who I am because then I get to discover bits and bits and bits. And every single day I have this ruthless curiosity to be like, who am I really underneath this? Do I really believe that? And just giving myself permission every single day to destroy the narratives or stories that I previously and historically have believed, so that I can create new ones that are in alignment with who I am today, because I'm always changing and I'm always evolving. And so I always question everything I believe to be true. I always question, why do I believe that? Do I still believe that? Is that an archaic belief? Is that a belief that my mom had? And so it's such a beautiful quest, again, when we can step into allowing uncertainty to be a place of opportunity and creativity and not fear.
That's quite a reframe.
Yeah, that's
We're
powerful.
going deep here. This is great.
So Kevin and I, this is synchronistic because Kevin and I were talking about some things earlier, and between coaching, podcasting, speaking, interviewing other people, we've got, between the two of us, literally thousands of hours in this arena of studying human beings, right? And I believe what you believe, which is that we're a spiritual being having a human experience rather than a human being having a spiritual experience. And so I believe we are all spiritual, but the human condition is a box in and of itself in a certain regard. So I use physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I think those are the four facets of the human condition. And I think when you talk about alignment, how do we align our spiritual self with our emotional self, with our mental self, and then with our physical actions? For you, what does alignment mean to you from that frame? And how do you make sure you're in alignment? And more importantly, how do you know when you're not? Because I think the moment we identify we're out of alignment is the moment we can do something about it.
Alignment for me is it's not something that I can sort of quantify. It's very much felt. It's like a felt sense. It's a feeling. So it's very obvious when I am out of alignment for me, because I sacrifice my values. I don't live up to my standards. I have this like, it's almost like this, that my awareness is very like localized, and it's like shrinking almost, if that makes sense. Whereas like when I'm in alignment, my energy feels very spacious and open, and just, I feel a lightness in my heart. I feel like I can hold a lot and it's not heavy. When I'm out of alignment and something happens in my life, I'm like, oh God, and I get like reactive and overwhelmed. When I'm in alignment, so much can be happening, and I can settle into this trust that it's all happening in perfect timing for a greater reason. There's a higher order that I don't know, but I trust that it's the right way. Whereas when I'm out of alignment, those little, like, because life can be so lifey, those little things really affect my nervous system to a deep level. And so the being reactive is telling me I'm out of alignment. When I immediately have that like trigger, like, oh, let me react to this thing. I'm like, okay, Sam, let's figure out like what is actually going on here. There's an energetic mismatch that's not quite in flow right now. This is why your system is tensing up because of this external thing. And so that's one of the biggest indicators for me. Another one is just like, when I have any sort of inner critic going on, if my mind is in inner critic mode, and I'm so familiar with what that is, because I spent so much of my life so identified with my inner critic, and so I believed everything it said. And so now if I sense that or I feel that, I'm like, okay, that's feedback. That's an indication that there's something out of alignment, because normally my mind is very clear, and that doesn't happen. Which is crazy now, because 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed that was possible. So for everyone listening who you do feel like your inner critic is on loudspeaker all day long, like, I have so much compassion for you, and you will get to a place where that's no longer the narrative. We just have to work that piece. So those are a few indicators I sort of like tune into when I'm out of alignment.
Do you mind if I go deeper real quick?
You
if that's
can. Just
cool?
remind me. I want to talk more about inner critic. Just
Inner
remind me.
critic,
I will
okay.
forget.
We as a collective, inner critic is the next
Don't let me
wave we
forget,
like to-
Samantha.
So
Yes, we got it.
you said that you have a low tolerance for suffering, and I believe that's because you probably suffered a ton. And I feel that way too, because we believe that your purpose comes from your deepest pain. Whatever you overcame, you can now help other people overcome to some degree. Now, you mentioned how you felt so numb or anxious. You were either numb to the pain or the suffering, or you were anxious and in the pain or the suffering. I believe emotional pain is a guarantee. What you do with it is not.
Yeah.
And you can choose vice or virtue. And I think that when we're escaping the pain, Netflix, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, if it's an escape from that emotional pain, you're going to either numb yourself out or create future anxiety. How did you break that cycle and become this energetic, fulfilled person that you are today? Because someone who's still in that, and it's like, oh, trust your intuition. Wait a minute. If you're in scarcity and fear, you can't trust your intuition at all. My intuition wants me to eat a Big Mac right now. Like, that's not right. That's not intuition, right? So for you, how do we reconcile and break this cycle?
I love this question. So it's really deciphering the difference between what is pain and what is suffering. The greatest suffering is the avoidance of pain. Pain in and of itself, the sensation of pain without the story, without the negotiation, or without trying to put it in a box. This sounds crazy, but it actually can be a really enjoyable experience. But we have to renegotiate our relationship to it. So whenever I felt pain in my body, I would immediately find a vice. I would immediately, so I was an overeater, then I was an undereater, then I suffered with exercise addiction, then I suffered with work addiction, and then it was social media addiction. It was all of these addictions because I didn't want to actually be with what was. And so when I reevaluated and when I asked myself, what am I really afraid of? What am I running from? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm running from this contraction in my body right now. It's like in my solar plexus, is in my heart. It feels like an aching pain. And I was like, okay, what if I was just to settle into that? What if I was just to feel that and acknowledge that it's there without the story? I'm just embodied in my pain. I'm like, oh, there's no running from, there's no negotiation, there's no resistance. I'm not telling myself I need to get out of it. I have full acceptance. I'm in an expression where it feels intense and I'm in pain, and I have a high level of acceptance for this. And so when we begin to reestablish, because we can literally make those decisions for anything. Like if I say to myself, okay, every single time I look at a glass of water, I have this feeling in my body, I can anchor that in. So now my experience with pain is like every single time I feel pain in my body, every single time I have like heartbreak or pain, or there's an experience in my body, that's an invitation for me to go deeper and to learn more, because pain is the portal to the truth. And there's so much value that we extract from actually just listening to our pain and being in it. And the more that we feel, the more that we heal. So yesterday I woke up and, oh my God, I had like the worst anxiety I've had in like years. I literally felt depressed, and depressed isn't something that I normally experience. And so I woke up and right away I'm like, whoa, like what is, like there is something seriously going on. And I said to my boyfriend, I'm like, there's literally nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong in the external world. My mind was like, oh, it's probably this, or it's probably this, or it might be this team member, it might be this, whatever. I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong. There's just such an intensity of pain in my body right now that it was like overbearing. Like I couldn't do my day. So I literally had to cancel my day yesterday and just be with this experience of pain. And I did my breath work. I did meditation. I just felt it. I like cried. I'm like, what is going on? And I know I was just processing some sort of trauma that was unearthed through something that I did. And I didn't need to put it in a box. And now today I'm like, fuck, I feel so good today. And this time yesterday, I felt like a fucking bag of balls. Like I was like, I'm done. I can't. So it's just interesting. And like, that's an example. And like you guys, it's still that I still get to go through those experiences today. Like, I don't think we reach a place in our evolution or our like enlightenment where like that doesn't happen, because pain is a part of the human experience. And I'm so committed to my growth, and I'm so committed to expansion. And with expansion comes me unearthing and like unlocking parts of my body that have been like frozen in time, like traumatic things that have happened that I am now processing in, you know, this iteration of me. So what was that pain from yesterday? I don't fucking know. It could have been something from my childhood. It could have been like the state of the world right now. It could have been whatever. And the point is like, let's not make meaning around it. Let's just be with it and be with the pain and feel to heal so we can then emerge and release, essentially.
Wow.
This is fire. You're blowing my mind.
Right.
Is there a part of you that is grateful for the pain in a way?
That I had to really cultivate, like that was not by default. I had to really cultivate that. And my story around that is, I can't wait to see who I become on the other side of this.
Yeah,
right. I can't wait to see who I become on the other side of this breath, you know? And so there's a sense of like, almost like excitement and wonder when I'm in that experience. And also what's important to note here is we can experience two very contrasting feelings and sensations in our body at the same time. So we can feel deep states of pain as well as we feel that gratitude. We can, it's emotional balancing. We call this, is we can balance those two emotions at the same time. And we can learn to be resourced by the gratitude to help really heal the pain.
Isn't that the yin and yang of the cycle?
Pardon?
Isn't that the yin and yang of the cycle? It's like a loop. Like you and I, when we were crying, texting each other.
It's happened so often.
Tough moment. It's like there's pain, emotional pain, but there's also unbelievable gratitude simultaneously for like how far we've come.
Yeah,
it's like a healing, and every time that happens, we call it a drive to 5 because whenever him and I disagree, it's like we raise our awareness, but usually we're both wrong and we're both right simultaneously. And then we cry because we've been through so much together, and then it's like there's a healing that goes, and then we're more on point after that. Like it's like a phoenix from the ashes. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but, and also inner critic.
Yeah,
by the way.
What is this? You're taking it right off the rail, telling her about how much we cry.
Gotta do it.
I love this.
No, we've been through a lot.
Right.
We've been through a lot, not only in our lives, but in this journey. And you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, like you're a speaker. You know how it goes, the ups and downs of it's almost like our goal is not to be the best business, or like we want to be the best podcast, but we want to be the best men. And like what comes with that goal is digging into the deepest shit that there is.
Right.
Like, oh, guess what? Alan doesn't have an ego right now. I'm just being soft. Like I'm insecure about the fact that I don't know how to do this. I'm taking us off the beaten path, but it is that like, why are you willing to dig into that?
Right. Your desire to grow, but what's the why power at the deepest level?
Like when did you decide one day, like, you know what, I'm done living this story that I'm telling myself. And now my quest is to constantly dig into that. Like, what is it? Why?
Yeah. So I've always been one to sort of test the limits of what's possible in anything that I've done. So when I was a dancer, I was just like, I'm just going to be the best fucking dancer. I'm going to train the hardest and I'm just going to see what's possible. Right. When I was a stunt double for Smallville, I'm like, I'm just going to be the best at that. And then when I got into business, people are like, why do you want to start a business? I'm like, cause like, why not? Like, I just want to see what's possible for myself when I pour myself into something. I think it's like, comes down to like my curiosity and my imagination of like, but what if, like what could I create? Like how cool would it be if I created, you know? And so I've always had this like curiosity for I have such a big imagination and such a, like excitement around like the possibility of what can come from creation. But when it comes to my personal journey and personal development, breathwork got me to that place where once I had that first session, I was like, wait a second. I was like, if that is possible in 3 hours of breathing, like what is possible for my life? What is possible for like who I get to be in this world? And so it really was that one initial breathwork session that shifted the narrative very quickly for me to go, oh, wait a second. I am so much stronger than I think. I'm so much more powerful than I think. And that realization cannot be done on the level of the mind. Like no amount of affirmations or convincing myself that I am powerful or was powerful would have made me believe it when I was knees deep in my eating disorder, struggling every single day. Like I needed to have that very visceral feeling, that deep feeling of like, okay, this is the truth. This is who you are. You know, it was as if like, call it like God, creator, life force, whatever you guys want to call it, came down and was like, yo, remember who you are. And it was like that moment where like my body literally remembered like, oh yeah, I'm not designed to struggle, pay bills, and die. I am designed to live out this great life and explore life and extract as much joy and possibility from this life as possible. And I really don't think that I would be, well, I know I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that like visceral shift, which is why I'm so like this. That's why I'm so obsessed with breath work. Cause I can take someone who's been in therapy for 20 years, who like feels like they're still working at it, put them through a process with breath work, and they'll be like, oh dang, that's amazing. So
can I just say, I love how your version of Source is gangsta. Yo, you're more powerful. That's fire. That's awesome.
Oh my God.
That was hilarious.
Right.
I was literally like, infinite intelligence is gangsta. Do you want to
Inner
ask
critic.
Inner critic. Yeah.
Okay.
Inner critic.
So Alan and I we call it grateful dissatisfaction. I am so grateful for what I have, but I understand that there is a level that I want to play at, that there are some things I'm going to have to get rid of. How is that balance with you versus, how do I know if it's the inner critic or if it's the source telling me that you have to eliminate this corrosive connection?
Fire.
Yeah, Dave Meltzer. That's motivated by Dave Meltzer right there.
Yeah.
Yes. He's our coach, so we get some fun.
He is?
Yes, yeah. We get some fire insights from him. It's a lot.
He
knows many things. He is.
Yeah. It's a great dude. So it comes down again to the inner critic is very mind-based, very like structured mind. I call it ordinary mind. The inner critic views life from the lens of fear. There's lots of doubt. There's lots of skepticism. There's lots of scarcity. And so when the inner critic is communicating, it feels like a buzzing, like a zzz, like pay attention, everything's urgent, everything's important, blah, 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 right? There's like this chaos to the inner critic and how the inner critic conveys messages to us. The intuition is extremely like certain. There's no negotiation. It's just a yes or a no. And a visceral no in the body is like, doom. It's like very, like we've all felt that feeling of like, don't go in that room, don't date that person. It's just like,
oh,
I
yeah.
know. Right. So there's no where, so being mindful of like, where is this coming from? First of all, like, is it coming? So let me break this down. There's three pillars of connection. So at any point in time, there's three parts of us that is speaking to us and giving us messages. Right? So we have our mental pillar, our cognitive, our mind, which is very noisy, very chaotic. This is where the inner critic lives. Yeah. Right. Then we have our emotionality, our emotional body, which is the expansions, the contractions, the grief, the joy, the sadness, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a bunch of sensations and stuff going on. And then underneath that is the intuition, right? Is the very clear expansion and contraction. Now, we're trying to constantly follow our intuition, but we're fighting through the mind and we're fighting through the emotions. So the intuition can be very, very, very noisy. You know what I'm saying? So when we learn to even like, we can do this on the podcast, but even like 90 seconds of a breath pattern that I do can allow my mind to unhook enough, allow my emotions to shift enough for me to have a little bit more access to my intuition. That is such a direct path rather than thinking about, is this my intuition? Is this my mind? What is this? Right. So we have the mind, the emotions, and the intuition. And when we can bypass the mind and get right into the intuition, everything becomes so clear. And I say bypass, not like ignore. We're still very like observing of the mind and understanding of the mind, but we're not identified. Does that make sense?
Right. Can we do the 90-second thing?
Let's do it.
Yeah, totally. You guys want to?
Let's have the listeners do it with us.
Everybody.
Yes. For anyone who's listening.
Yeah.
Anyone who's listening, don't do this if you're driving, don't do this. But anyone else, This is great. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a breath pattern called the triactive breath. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're only breathing through the mouth. We breathe in through the belly, up into the chest, and out through the mouth.
Does that mean I have to stop flexing my
right,
abs?
right. We got to move the camera up so it's just on our face.
You gotta kind of like let your belly go, you know? Like
no.
There we go.
he's like, oh God, my six pack, what's gonna happen?
No, there's no six packs. No six packs during COVID.
Should we move the mic? Maybe we might want to move the mics away if we're going to be breathing into them.
Oh, okay. We can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe slightly. All right, so it's only through the mouth, in through the belly, up into the chest, and out through the mouth. So it sounds like this. Okay.
Yep.
So that exhale gets to be nice and powerful, nice and strong. And at the end of the 90 seconds, we're all going to take a deep breath in through the nose. We're going to hold at the top for as long as we can. And then we're going to exhale.
I'm just going to follow your lead, Samantha. I'm just going to follow your lead.
We're going to follow your lead.
I learned by seeing. And then
Okay, cool. All right. You ready?
yes.
Do you have a
All right.
pamphlet for us that we can? No, I'm good.
A diagram. All right. If you want, you can close your eyes. If not, you can keep them open.
I got to watch what you do or I'm going to.
Okay, cool. Just dropping your shoulders, coming into your heart, just taking a moment, getting nice and present. Just feeling the ground underneath you, feeling the support of the chair that you're sitting in. To start with, let's just take a deep breath in through the nose. Out through the mouth. Just one more time. In through the nose. And when you're ready, let's start the breath pattern together. Keep that breath going. Keep it circulating. Let that exhale be nice and powerful. We are only breathing through the mouth. That's it. You're safe to breathe. You're safe to relax. You're safe to let go. Letting the body do the work. Letting the body do the work. That's it. Just a few more seconds here with the breath. Then we're going to take a deep breath in and hold. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. Holding at the top. Hold the breath at the top. Just notice how the dust begins to settle. You are more in your body. Notice your mind clearing. And whenever you're ready, just relaxing the breath, releasing the breath whenever your body feels ready. And now just noticing the clarity, the stillness, noticing your body. And whenever you're ready, just opening up your eyes, coming back into the space.
Wow.
It's good.
I thought I was going to pass out at like halfway through. Wow.
Imagine that.
I literally, so first of all, I don't know. Yeah, that's wild. When we went to Brendan Burchard's event, and this is the first time I ever had anxiety. I didn't know what anxiety was. I had an anxiety attack in the hotel the night before. No idea what it was. And they're trying to get us to do a breathing exercise, and I thought I was going to have a panic attack. So I was terrified of that in this moment, but I worked through it, and I appreciate the
I love it.
I felt like I could hold my breath forever at the end.
You can. Yeah. It's so crazy. We have this exercise that we do this and then we hold for a minute and then we do that again, hold for 2 minutes, hold for 3 minutes, hold for 4 minutes. You can hold your breath forever.
What is
Forever.
so if I decide, like, I want to do that,
Mm,
what is the, not the benefit?
mm,
What should I be connecting in my mind? Okay, it's time for me to do my breath work. What does
mm.
that do? I'm a tactician, so I need to know what I'm doing.
Great.
Why?
So the way that I do breath work is every single morning I'll do it for 5 minutes. So I'll do that pattern because that is the triactive breath. So it's a lot more energizing than some of the other ones that we do. So I'll do that for 5 minutes. I'll hold my breath. I'll release like we just did, and then I'll go right into a meditation. My meditations are 10 times stronger, longer, more intense, and just more connected. And then in the evening, I'll do a similar breath. It's called the Halo Active, which is so in through the nose, out through the mouth. So it's a little bit softer, a lot brings in a little bit more relaxation. Again, hold my breath, relax, go into a meditation. So I'll do that in the morning and in the evening. Twice a week, 2 or 3 times a week, I'll do this triactive breath, the one we did today, lying down, which brings you into this like beautiful process. The dizziness, by the way, like you'll feel like you're going to pass out for the first like minute or two. And then honestly, your body just takes over and breathes for you. And you go into an altered state of consciousness. It's so incredible. There's breath work for relaxation, and then there's breath work for transformation. So breath work for relaxation is, it's more like how can I integrate it into my day? So if I'm feeling like a pang of like anxiety, as you mentioned, or stress, or like, man, I'm so overwhelmed, or like I got resentment because of this thing, doing something like we just did for a minute to 3 minutes will be able to shift and give you a new perspective and add in more well-being energy into your system. So just doing it whenever you feel activated and you need to get back into like an aligned state, right? We talked about how do I know if I'm out of alignment? Well, if I'm reacting to something or I get an email and it really affects me and it shouldn't, then I'll use breath work for a few minutes and just recalibrate and get myself back into balance. So, and then the more that we do breath work, the more that we can stabilize that feeling of well-being, that clarity, that calmness, that ease, that feeling of just certainty.
I just had I know you probably have a question. I had a vision of Samantha speaking at one of our events,
Oh, I like
doing
that.
that. So we host events. That's going to happen in the
Oh,
future.
it's done.
yeah,
If
100%.
she's in, of course.
Yeah,
If
if
that's
she's
in
in.
alignment.
Yeah.
If that's
I'll
in
come to
alignment. My
Boston.
sales come out only if it's congruent with you. If it's in alignment.
gotta be a
No
win-win.
pressure. No pressure. Yeah. I have several questions that are jumping off, and I feel compelled to say.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be vulnerable here for a second. So my girlfriend and I were making love last night. Unbelievable. And she would love you, by the way. She has a podcast called the Why Power Podcast. That
Oh,
is
nice.
incredible. We were interviewed this past
We
weekend.
were. And I might say that out of all the guests that have been on there, we crushed it.
Yeah, we did. We were the first guests. We're best guests ever on the Why Power Podcast. So far.
I love it.
So far. She talks about starting your day in a spiritual place and then ending her day in a spiritual place. And she does death meditation. She does breath work. You would love her. You two would get along very well. So I'm making love to her last night, right? And I had this trigger moment. So I was completely in flow, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually connected. It was unbelievable, just fire. And I had this trigger moment because I suddenly had fear come in that someone was going to hear us because we were
Audible.
Yeah, audible. Audible is the correct word. And after that, it was hard for me to get out of that and get back into a state of flow. 2 questions.
Yeah,
One, should
I don't have a question. I just
Yeah,
wanna talk about it.
I just want to talk about. Are we still talking about sex? I want to ask you: should I have started doing more breath? Like, how would I get back into? Because even we showered after, and we were in this beautiful state together, and I could tell she was in a wonderful state, but I was still triggered a little, and my mind is searching for why. My mind is very. I'm very mental, as I'm sure you can tell, and so I'm looking for the root cause, and I figured out that was the trigger moment. How would you have gotten out of that? What would you recommend? Should I have done breath work? Should I have just let it go like a leaf down the river? Like what would you say?
So my first point, the first place that I go to when I'm redirecting energy or redirecting thought is awareness. Like how can I place my awareness on my body that gives me more resource? So in that moment, you could have placed your body on your heart. You could have placed your awareness on your belly. You could have placed your awareness on your heart. You could have placed your awareness in your body. We just need to bring the energy down. So when we're caught in a part that's very mental and it's spinning,
Right.
it's because we're giving so much focus to that, so it continues to perpetuate. So
Totally.
in that moment, like bringing your awareness down, and then if you want to bring your awareness down with breath, you can also do that as well. Like really breathing into the belly, breathing into the heart, and just allowing yourself to anchor down into the energy, so
Right.
we're not stuck in like that mental spin.
What I was doing is I was looking for the root cause so I could find a solution. I'm very like that naturally.
Yeah.
So in the future, I'll have to remember, like, get back in your heart, get back in your spirit, get back in your body. Because if the M takes over when I'm making love, it's going to take me out of the flow. Like this.
Mm-hmm.
That. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other questions about sex?
No. Are there any other questions about sex?
So speaking of
Any other sex questions? I'm here all day.
Right.
speaking of being naked, I told Alan I wanted to ask this question. One of my favorite pieces of verbiage you wrote. It's not serious. It's not serious. It's a serious question.
Okay. Speaking of being naked,
Figure it
never
out.
heard a question asked that way.
One of the most vulnerable things you said was one of your mentors challenged you to stand naked in front of the mirror until you liked what you saw, or
Right.
until you were comfortable with it.
Mhm.
Somebody who is and we've asked this question to men. You're a beautiful woman, obviously. Like you're very beautiful, and you were a bikini competitor.
Mm-hmm.
So like in somebody's mind, they're linking up, okay, she's a bikini competitor. She has to be somewhat confident in her body. She's on stage in a bikini.
Mm-hmm.
What was that process like for you? And why, I guess, why was it so, I don't mean in any way, like, why was it so difficult for you?
Yeah. Oh, such a good question. So I struggled so much with body dysmorphia. I was the same size I am now, and I thought I was obese. It was a mental, like, I could not see myself as I was. Like, I would look in the mirror and be like, I am so overweight. And I was 125 pounds. So it was a very, like, I projected so much fear, so much, like, my body was like the punching bag for all of my emotional issues. And so I had to be okay with, like, so the reason why I like hate the body positivity movement is it's so challenging to try and love your body when you spent 20 years hating it. Right. So we see these like women who are like these beautiful, voluptuous women. And I'm like, fuck, if she can love her body when she's 250 pounds, what the fuck? Like, why is this so challenging for me? So I had to first accept the fact that I hated my body. And that was the first step of like, can I just accept the fact that I hate it right now? And everyone and their dog was like, you can't hate your body. I'm like, I do. And that's the truth. And what I know to be true is like, anytime I'm in truth, there's transformation right next door. So I have to be so real with where I'm at. Like thank you for your acknowledgement of like authenticity, but it's like, I can't be any other way because I know that I'll stunt my growth. Like I got to just say it as it is and just tell it as it is. And so I had to like look at myself and be like, I fucking hate my body. I'm 125 pounds and I hate it. I think I'm obese. And once I just had fully admitted that and didn't pretend that it was okay or pretended any other way, then I could just be okay with it. And once I got to like, okay, I accept the fact that I hate it, then I can accept the fact that it's just the way it is and there's no hate, right? It's like body neutrality. I'm like, okay, it just is what it is. I don't actually hate it anymore. It's just neutral. And then from there, once we hit that neutrality place, then we can start slowly building up. Like it's very challenging to love something that you've been at war with your entire life. And in my next book that's coming out, it's called Hungry for Happiness. It's the second edition. It comes out September 29th. I go into this in detail of like how we can begin to like come home to the very thing that we've hated for so long, and how we can establish this like beautiful relationship with something that we previously like berated and like abused for so long. And so for people who have body image issues, which is like most of the world, it's really about like being truthful with where we're at and really hitting that place of body neutrality so that we can slowly get into body love, slowly. But anytime that we are, any time that our bodies are the punching bag for what's going on, we just got to go deeper, go inside.
So
thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, that was when he told me that he had researched the stand in front of the mirror and like accept what it's like, so that's very, very powerful. I have so many questions that I want to ask you. I'm trying to hone it so that I can come into one question here. I was with a client yesterday, and we were on the phone, and I'll keep it anonymous, but she wants to lose 20 pounds. People come to me often because they want a six-pack or they want to be in shape, when in reality what they want is self-esteem. And it's interesting because on one end you have love yourself for the way you are, and then on the other end it's raise your standard and grow and be better. And so there's this great book called The Self-Made Billionaire Effect, and they studied billionaires and their mentality. And the one takeaway that I always say from this is billionaires, the one common denominator that they found that was most powerful is that they could hold two seemingly opposing ideas in their consciousness at the same time. I feel like this is one of the most misunderstood things in the world. We're like, oh, it's supposed to be Republican. Oh, it's supposed to be Democrat. It's actually both. Neither one's right and neither one's wrong at all times. Now, and that, light, dark, we all have both within us. It's yin and yang, always, 24/7, 365, masculine, feminine, all that. Okay. When it comes to your body, how do we accept what is and love it for what it is while simultaneously raising our standard? And I'll say this. I was on the phone with this client, and I said, give me a memory of when you were the most on point, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. She had gone on this trip for 30 days, and she had prepped for it and all this stuff. And she was like, I was just at my best. I was a 10 out of 10. I said, where are you now in comparison to that memory? She said, honestly, we went through physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. She said, probably around a 7. Now, we went through each of them. The average was a 7. I said, okay, what were you doing differently? She wasn't overeating. She wasn't smoking. She wasn't drinking alcohol. I said, okay, here's the interesting thing. Other people, it's only 2 drinks. It's only 1 cigarette a day. It's only because I eat too fast. We tell ourselves these stories, right? The truth of the matter is, no matter what anyone else thinks of it, you're living below what you know you're capable of, period. And as long as you keep doing that, you will never build self-esteem. What is your take on that? Please reframe that for our listeners, because I don't know how to get through to people on that. Your spirit wants to grow. Your spirit, if you want to play basketball, your spirit wants you to get better at basketball. If you're a rapper, your spirit wants you to get better at rapping. Why do we have this aversion to being the best when in reality it's a spiritual game?
Yeah, this is so good.
Fire question.
This is great. This is so simple as well. So the reason why I don't subscribe to the body positivity movement is because I really, I believe that if you want to walk the planet on a lighter frame, like that client wants to lose 20 pounds, that should be celebrated,
right,
and not frowned upon.
Right.
Now, here's the caveat: is it all comes down to intention behind desire. Right? Are we like, what's the intention behind the motivation? What's the intention behind consumption when it comes to food? If the intention behind the motivation is because she wants to feel better, she knows that it feels so good to be 20 pounds lighter, and the path to get there is motivated and fueled by love and not fear, then that should be celebrated all day long. When it gets sticky is like when the classic diet mentality of like, I hate my body, I hate where I am, I hate everything, so I'm going to take action out of fear and diet and white knuckle my way through this, and hopefully maybe I'll get there one day. It's like, if the journey doesn't feel like the destination, we're doing something wrong. So we have to approach it from like casting this vision of like, what does this look like? Who do I get to become when I'm 20 pounds lighter? What is that going to mean for me? What is that going to mean for my family? What is that going to mean for like what I get to put out in the world? How much more can I contribute? How much more resourceful I feel? And really anchoring into, what is that intention? What does it feel like? Who do I become? And then every single action we take is not from a place of fear, but from a place of just working towards that vision, coming from a place of just expansion, right? Like you said, like our spirit wants to expand. And so it's less about like the doingness and more about like, what is the intention and the fuel behind why we're doing what we're doing? Because so many people lose 20 pounds because they want to get the guy or be validated or not feel like the fat person or whatever it is. And all of that is fueled by fear.
And they think they'll be happy once they get there. But if it's fueled by fear, you're still going to be in fear when you get there.
Exactly.
It's interesting.
This is fire.
Yeah, this is one of the best episodes we've ever done.
Yeah, genuinely, the energy. Ever since, there's a reason I hammered the intro, because you're high energy and I know we're connected. I can feel the connection through the interweb.
The internet.
We did an interview with an addiction specialist, and he basically said anything that you cannot stop yourself from doing for 30 days, you probably have somewhat of an addiction to it. What was your social media addiction? Because I think when we asked him, what is the percentage? I know it's subjective. I know you're throwing a number out. He said, honestly, probably like 80% of people have some form of addiction to at least social media. How did it manifest for you? And obviously, you know, you might not be an expert in that area, but like, what would you say to look out for if somebody's listening to this, like that they might be going down that path?
So good. Well, we got to first realize like the smartest people in the world are paid some of the biggest salaries companies to make sure that we are addicted to them.
Right.
It is designed to take our brain. It is designed that way, and it's fucking good at it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we have to, so a few things that are helpful for me is when I go on, when I open the app, when I click Instagram, where's my state? Where's my state? Where am I emotionally, right? Checking in with that. If I am going in there with this feeling of like, I'm going to get something, or I'm going to like scratch an itch, or I'm going to like, or like, I wonder who commented on, you know, if that is an indication, again, out of alignment, and there's something within me that needs to be attended to before I open this thing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I have a mantra every single time I open the app. I say, I am a creator, not a consumer.
Fire. So
I'm
good.
a creator, not a consumer. So I go on social media and I just fucking create. I mute like I'm following like 200 people, but I have the majority of them muted except for my mom, my brother, my family, and my close friends, because I just don't care. And so I also download. So I literally log on to Instagram. So I'll delete the app every day, and then I'll re-download it, go on, do all the shit that I need to do. What am I promoting today? What do I want to share today? What feels in alignment today? But I'll do it all. And then I'll take the app off my phone, and that's it. So that's like how I interact with social media, because I shared, like I was addicted. I would, my alarm would go up. I'd be like, how many likes are on this? And I was constantly trying to find validation in it. And I was comparing myself to like, what are other people doing in my space, and how far along? Oh, fuck, they got a thing in Forbes. I want to get a thing in Forbes. And it was constantly that, because there was this part of me that like, you're not good enough unless you're the best, you know, which is like the distortion of the spirit wanting to expand. Right. So my best expansion is like when I'm expanding in my own lane, doing my own thing. And so influence and comparison is such a trap. And we, you know, like no matter where you are in life, whether you're a business owner or a mom or you work at 7-Eleven, it doesn't matter. It's like, we're constantly looking to better to like look to see, am I good? Am I doing enough? Am I there yet? It's the worthiness wound that gets activated in social media, and social media is designed to activate our worthiness wound. So we just do more. And so I'm like, man, homie, don't play that game. Like, I don't want to play that game anymore. Like, that doesn't feel good. And like, that drains my resource. So I don't have the resource to create and do the things that I want to do in the world, like doing this.
Right. My goodness. Fire.
Yeah.
You want to ask our final 2 questions?
Is it? Yeah, that's right.
It's
Oh my
time.
God, we have 2 minutes
it
on
goes
the
by
clock.
so quick.
Wow, it went by so
Goes by
fast.
so quick.
Yeah.
So I like to ask this question of people that are on the show.
Yeah.
I love your hooks, man.
Yeah, not bad. Right? I think,
speaking of being naked,
I'm on the edge of my
yeah, right.
I think we're here and we have the opportunity to do with this life whatever we choose, right? And obviously you want to end suffering as much as you can. What is your goal before you die? Like, how do you know? And I don't want to say whether or not you made it, but like if it's on your tombstone, what does it say?
I mainstreamed breathwork and made it accessible and affordable for every single person who had a phone.
Fire.
Wow, that was super specific. Listeners, listen to the clarity.
Right.
Mine is to grow and develop as many leaders as possible. Boom. Done deal.
Yeah.
Kevin's is to be the person he needed at his darkest point.
Yes. Lowest.
Like the clarity, that true north that guides us every day. Okay. So before I take this right off the rails,
will too.
Last question. Yeah, I'm going to ask the one that we're going to go back to the original 2 that we used to ask.
We've been screwing up.
So we used to ask every guest these 2 questions. And so mine is, I wear this North Star around my neck.
Picture.
I've said that it's the brightest star in the sky. I've since been corrected by a physicist. He'd actually be mad that I called him a physicist. He's like, I'm not a real physicist. Okay, whatever, man. The point is this. It guides me every day. I have my own purpose prayer that I say every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. I have for the last 5.5 years. And it guides me. And I believe that we grow, we evolve, we change, we transform. You're obviously grown and transformed so much over the years. It's very clear to me. You're very well developed. It's pretty awesome. But there's a part of you that has never changed. And I believe that that's the truest part of you. So what about you never changed?
So like the most under-evolved part of me.
Is that a question?
That's like a clarifying question. So the part of me that's never changed.
No. So any part of you that's never changed. In other words, when you were a kid, this thing was still there.
Okay. Like a good thing or a bad thing?
Anything you want. It's been constant, preferably a good thing, but
okay. So, since I was a very, very, very young kid, I have always been extremely silly and playful, and like playing pranks is like one of my favorite things in the whole world. Like I just love fucking around so much. Like it's my favorite thing. Like I will just send my friends like glitter bombs in the mail, so when they open them, glitter just goes everywhere, just for fun. No reason. Completely anonymous.
Go ahead.
I love playing pranks. I love like I have a hashtag that's #keep it weird. Like I just love doing weird shit to see people's expressions. Like I was an actress when I was younger and a dancer and a performer. So like even now I'll just do like awkward shit in social situations just to see people's reactions, and like that'll never change.
When you said big bag of balls or something earlier, we laughed hysterically.
Bag of balls.
One of our old mentors used to deliver mulch in someone's driveway, like a bunch of it.
Just drop it right in. And pizza. He used to deliver like 12 pizzas at 2 in the morning.
At 2 a.m.
Oh my God. I love it. Like that stuff just makes me laugh so hard. Like I'm like, life is just so fun when we let it be.
Right.
You know? And so good.
All right. So as promised, I want people to find you and track you down and do your breath work and figure out where they can learn more about you. Plug everything, the books, everything that you have.
So the book is coming out September 29th. You can get it on pre-sale on Amazon. Just search Hungry for Happiness. Pausebreathwork.com is where you can go on a breathwork journey. We have a free audio there that you can go on, like a 20-30 minute journey there. And then Samantha Skelly, at Samantha Skelly on Instagram. I'm super active on Instagram. So come on over, shoot me a DM, say hello. And then the Hungry for Happiness podcast as well. It's all there.
This was honestly like, I don't know. This might have been my favorite. We had Dean Graziosi on a couple of weeks ago, and he was the number one. He was the favorite, but I think you take the cake.
Oh my God.
It's not back to follow. It's the energy, but it's the intention. It's the great answers. It's the heart. You can feel it. You can feel the heart.
Yeah. So you can tell that we're all transforming. You're very well developed in all the facets: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's interesting to see. You've definitely done your homework in terms of, by yourself, your own personal development. It's very, very high. So we would love to have you on one of our masterminds at some point too.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been powerful. Thank you so much.
If you had a 10-second blip to leave the listeners with, the last thing in closing, what would it be?
So one big concept that I'm working on right now, and it's actually the title of my next book, it's called You Are the Drug, which is essentially this idea that we can disintegrate this codependency that we have in the world, knowing that any single emotion, any single feeling, any single sensation that we desire to feel exists within our body. We just need to activate it through our breath and through our intention. And so just this deep knowing that we don't need to depend on anything outside of ourselves to feel the states that we deeply desire, those deep states of fulfillment.
Very synchronistic.
That was closer to 25 seconds. I was going to cut you off at 10, but I didn't want to. I didn't think that was a good prank.
What is time?
The man-made construct.
Oh, this has been good. Thank you so much for joining us.
This is amazing.
Great prospecting.
Yes.
Strong work.
Oh my God, you're so welcome.
Gentlemen, Samantha Skelly. Follow her. She is gangsta.
She's gangsta, and so is Source. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.